Have you ever looked at your boss and just wondered, how in the world did they get that job? It's a huge workplace mystery, right? Well, today we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating theory that might just explain everything. Okay, let's just get right to it with the question that, come on, we've all asked ourselves at some point. It's a frustrating, totally universal experience. But what if I told you that your boss's incompetence might not actually be their fault? The answer could be right here, in something called the Peter Principle. It comes from a satirical book from 1969, but the idea is simple and, honestly, kind of profound. It says that people get promoted based on how well they do their current job, right up until they land in a job they just can't do. And that's where they get stuck. So to really see how this works in the real world, let's walk through a classic example. Think of it as a little cautionary tale for anyone trying to climb that corporate ladder. So let's meet our guy, James Harrison. He's an absolutely phenomenal software engineer, a total rock star. He's so good, in fact, that when a manager role opens up, the company promotes him. But here's the catch. His new job isn't about writing code anymore. It's about managing people. It's a completely different ballgame. And all those skills that made him a star employee, suddenly, they're not so useful. He struggles, he starts micromanaging his old job, and just like that, James has been promoted right up to his level of incompetence. The company has lost a great engineer and, unfortunately, gained a pretty bad manager. So this all started as a joke, as satire, right? But the big question is, does this idea actually hold up? It sounds plausible for sure, but is there any hard evidence that this is a real thing and not just a good excuse for a bad day at the office? Well, let's take a look at Google. They did this massive study called Project Oxygen to figure out what makes a truly great boss. And the results were, frankly, fascinating. Out of all the qualities they looked at, technical knowledge, the very skill that likely got that person promoted in the first place, turned out to be the least important quality. Dead last. Wild, right? And this isn't just a Google thing. Researchers from places like MIT and Yale found the exact same pattern with sales teams. They saw that the best salespeople were, no surprise, the most likely to get promoted to manager. But here's the kicker. Those same superstar sellers consistently became the absolute worst managers. Their incredible individual talent just didn't translate to leading a team. We even see this play out at the very highest levels. I mean, Steve Ballmer was a legendary salesman who rose all the way to CEO of Microsoft. But as CEO, he famously laughed off the first iPhone, completely missing the future of mobile because he was looking at it through his old sales lens. It's a perfect example of how the strength that gets you to the top isn't always the one you need at the top. And get this idea isn't even new. This quote is from a German play written more than 200 years before Peter's book. It shows a character who completely understood the principle. He knew that being good at one job was no guarantee you'd be good at the next one up. Now, to be fair, there is another way to look at all this. An economist named Edward Lazier suggested it might not be incompetence at all. He called it regression to the mean. His theory is that people work incredibly, unsustainably hard to get that promotion. Then, once they get the new job, they just naturally go back to their normal work pace, which can look like a big drop in performance. But, whether it's incompetence or just plain exhaustion, the result is the same. You've got a bad boss. And the impact of that bad boss creates this massive ripple effect that can damage not just individuals, but the entire company. So what often happens is that this new manager feels completely out of their depth. And what do? They retreat to what they know. They start micromanaging the very job they just left because it's the one place where they still feel competent. And for the people on their team, the impact is severe. A bad boss leads directly to more stress and way lower engagement. In fact, research shows it can cause serious health problems for employees, even increasing the risk of a heart attack. So we're not just talking about a bad workday. This is literally bad for your health. It really all boils down to this famous saying. It's become a cliche for a reason, because it's true. Your direct manager is pretty much the #1 factor in whether you stay at a job or you leave. And all that quitting has a staggering cost. In just the last 5 years, the price tag for employee turnover because of bad management is estimated to be $223 billion. That's the cost of promoting the wrong people. And as the chairman of Gallup puts it, you can't just fix this with perks, Free lunches, game rooms, great benefits. None of that stuff really matters if your boss is making your life miserable every day. So is this it? Are we all just doomed to have incompetent bosses forever? Is there any way to actually break this cycle? Well, fortunately, the answer seems to be yes. Let's look at how we might escape the trap. One really practical idea is to just rethink the whole ladder concept. Instead of only promoting people up, what if we promoted them sideways first? A lateral move lets an employee build new skills and get different experiences before they take on the massive responsibility of managing a team. You end up creating a much more competent leader. Okay, but if you want a truly radical idea, check this out. Italian researchers ran a computer simulation to find the absolute best promotion strategy. Their finding was shocking. The most successful methods were to either promote people completely at random or, get this, to promote the best and the worst performers. I know, it sounds nuts, but by totally disrupting the normal cycle, it actually kept more competent people in the roles where they belonged. And there are other unconventional ideas out there too. You've got the high-pressure up-or-out system, like at big consulting firms. And Lawrence Peter, the guy who came up with this whole principle, jokingly suggested something he called strategic incompetence, basically being just good enough to not get fired, but never so good that you get promoted into a job you don't actually want. You know, maybe the real issue here is our fundamental assumption that everybody should want to be a manager. Gallup data shows that only about 1 in 10 people has the natural talent for it, and less than half of us even want the job in the first place. And yet, it's still the main way we reward a job well done. Which brings us to our final question. And this one's for you to think about. We're all kind of conditioned to chase that next promotion, that next rung on the ladder, as the ultimate prize. But after looking at all this, is it the right reward for you? Or are there other paths, other definitions of success that are way more worth striving for?